to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, and this is going to be an AEW Dynasty pay-per-view review. Let me put it this way. The booking on this show was so transparent that you could see right through it like a sheet of glass. But the other thing, too, was the only way you can afford these damn things, or at least I can afford it, is have somebody else or a couple people come over and we split it. So my good friend and personal trainer Gonzo came over and we hooked this thing up, and guess what? After paying for it, we couldn't access it. And we kept trying and trying with this sling piece of shit thing. So eventually, the pre-show was at 7 o'clock. We missed most of that. We went on YouTube to see the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass lose the six-man belts to the Gun Club and Jay White. Whoop-de-fucking-do. So we were about to give up hope, so we logged back in the sling one last time, and wow, there it was, 10 minutes after 8 after the thing started. So we get on this thing. And to be honest with you, you could pretty much predict everything that was going to happen because that's how transparent the booking was. Pac versus Okada. Of course, Okada was a big signing, and of course, when you sign with AEW, they automatically give you some sort of belt. So he automatically won the Continental Championship belt off of Eddie Kingston real quick. Because in AEW, everybody gets a belt because it's like a participation trophy. There's way too many fucking belts, and the one belt that you should have that you don't is a women's tag belt. But then again, what do I fucking know? I've only been watching this shit for 60 fucking years. So anyway, then we go into, I'm probably going to go off with these things. I think we went next into the six-man tag with Eddie Kingston, Mark Brisco, and Adam Copeland against the House of Black. Again, total brawl, spot fest. All these six-man tags are spot fests, and all the finishers should have ended the match people kick out of. It's ridiculous. They're kicking out of finishers that 5 years ago would have been the end of it. Fucking stupid. So then we get into, I believe, what was it? The International Championship belt held by Roderick Storm against Kyle O'Reilly, which was just thrown in there at the last minute. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't give a shit about either one of these guys. So it was like I think I went to take a leak at that match. So then we have the highly anticipated Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. You almost knew Willow was going to take it because the look on Julia Hart's face when she went to the ring just basically said, I'm going to phone this in because I'm going to lose anyway. And of course, Willow wins, but of course she has to be interrupted by the newest signee, Mercedes Moné, another one that supposedly was from New Japan. I honestly never heard of her. I got a funny feeling that Tony Khan is falling into the fucking morass of just hiring hot chicks for ratings. But anyway, she sort of interrupted the whole thing. And of course, Willow Nightingale was responsible for almost a career-ending injury in New Japan. But of course, that's going to be on the next pay-per-view where she'll probably drop the belt to this chick. So that's fucked up. All right, what happened after that? Oh, the highly anticipated Bryan Danielson Will Ospreay match, which basically proved that Will Ospreay may be the best wrestler on the fucking planet. Then, what do we have after that? We had the FTR versus the Young Bucks for the third time around ladder match, which now, here's where they completely fucked this up. They showed that stupid video of CM Punk choking out Jack Perry. The Young Bucks had showed that in retaliation for something the WWE did. They're firing shots back and forth. Also, Jack Perry was at a Chicago New Japan event. So, of course, I wasn't surprised when a masked guy ran in, tipped over the ladder that Dax Hardwood was standing on, and allowed one of the Young Bucks to run up and claim the title for the third time. Security pulled him out. He was unmasked as Jack Perry. Fucking go again. All right, what happened after that? Then there was the women's title match with Timeless Toni Storm, who seemed to be wrestling in a pair of granny panties, against Thunder Rosa, who reminds us every fucking waking moment that she never lost the belt. She was out with a back injury. Okay, so you figured they were going to hand it to her, which they didn't. There was outside interference by Mariah May and Luther. And Deanna Purrazzo ran to the ringside and beat up Mariah May, but still Thunder Rosa didn't take the fucking belt. I don't know if I'm missing anything or not, because there's so many fucking belts. Am I missing something? I probably am. But anyway, now we go into the big main event. And the big main event was Samoa Joe against Swerve Strickland. And this started at about 11:30. And Joe went in strong, beating the shit out of Swerve until Swerve turned the tables, and it was all Swerve. And then there was a really, it just seemed that Joe knew he was going to drop the fucking belt, and he pretty much just laid down for the whole pin. So now Tony Khan got his first African-American AEW championship, which will probably last as long as Adam Page runs in probably this Wednesday and they start that whole shit again. Whether Joe's going to want another shot at it, who the fuck knows. All I can say is that this is a mark promotion at this point. I mean, there's some good points, but there's so many fucking bad points that it just makes me wonder what the fuck this guy's doing. I mean, okay, you're a billionaire. So was Dixie Carter, and she must have lost at least $1 billion playing around with TNA because she had no clue what she was fucking doing. And she listened to the wrong people. I don't know if Tony Khan is listening to anybody. I also know that Tony Khan was almost desperate to sign Paul Heyman when his contract was up with the WWE, only Paul stayed there. Now, Tony, let me lay something out to you. You had two guys there that could book. Tully Blanchard, who booked Southwest Championship Wrestling, and the only reason that went out of business was because McMahon forced them off the air. That show, that whole promotion was booked by Tully, and Tully knew what he was doing. Same with Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson can book. And if you want to book like Paul Heyman, let me just refer you to another guy who's basically 70 years old and hanging around and has a wealth of knowledge, and that's Kevin Sullivan. And where do you think Paul Heyman got most of his fucking ideas from? Because he worked Championship Wrestling from Florida as a manager. Eddie Graham and Kevin Sullivan. And of course there's always Scotty Levy, Raven, who actually has a great mind for the business and can book. So my point is, instead of playing the mark, which you are, why don't you get some guys in there that actually know the business and can put together compelling storylines that last longer than 3 fucking weeks, and this constant heel face turn, and bring back some of the women who could really kick ass, like Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir and some of these other people. I mean, you have all this talent. You also have a second promotion, Ring of Honor, which I guess we have to pay to see, so fuck that too. And you know something? You have that Rampage show on Friday nights. Why don't you make it a Ring of Honor show and expand it to 2 hours so Ring of Honor people have some airtime too? Is it that fucking hard? I mean, you're a billionaire. And I don't know if I'm missing anything from that whole, pay-per-view thing that I didn't talk about. All I know is at some points with me, and I've been tired out because of what's going on with my animals and shit, I was nodding out during some of this shit. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to buy another pay-per-view, but for God's sakes, learn how to fucking book, learn how to create some compelling storylines, and stop being a fucking mark, okay? So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the flip side.